Throughout history, countless wars have been fought, empires have risen, kings have claimed their thrones, and armies have marched across continents. Yet, one of the deadliest disasters in human history was not an army. It carried no banners, it wielded no weapons, it commanded no soldiers. And yet, it brought entire civilizations to their knees. In the middle of the 14th century, a shadow began to spread across the known world. Cities fell silent, villages were abandoned, families were torn apart, and fear traveled farther than any conqueror ever could. Some believed it was a punishment sent from heaven. Others searched for enemies among their neighbors. Many feared that the end of the world had arrived, but almost no one understood the true nature of the catastrophe unfolding before them. By the time it finally loosened its grip, millions were dead. Vast regions had been transformed, and the world would never be the same. This is the story of the Black Death. Around 7 centuries ago, the world was entering an age of growing prosperity. Great kingdoms ruled over vast territories. Merchants crossed deserts and mountains. Ships connected distant shores. Trade routes stretched across continents, linking peoples and cultures as never before. To many, the future seemed full of promise. Yet beyond the horizon, a silent threat had already begun its journey. Most historians believe the plague that would become known as the Black Death first emerged somewhere in Central Asia. At first, it may have seemed insignificant, a distant outbreak, a local tragedy, nothing more. But history was about to prove otherwise. Caravans continued their journeys. Merchants continued their trade. Ships departed crowded ports and sailed toward distant destinations. And unseen among them, traveled something far more dangerous than any army: death itself. The great trade routes carried silk, spices, gold, ideas, but they also carried disease. Slowly, the plague moved westward, crossing borders, crossing mountains, crossing seas, leaving destruction in its wake. Few realized that one of the greatest disasters in human history had already begun. Then came the year 1347. Merchant vessels arrived at ports along the Mediterranean. At first glance, everything appeared ordinary, but something was terribly wrong. Many of the sailors aboard were already dead. Others were dying. Those who remained alive suffered from high fevers and agonizing swellings. Some survived only days after the first symptoms appeared. The people waiting on shore could not understand what they were witnessing. Yet by then, the disease had already arrived. Within weeks, cases appeared in nearby settlements, then entire cities. The numbers rose with terrifying speed. A sickness that entered a single household could consume an entire neighborhood in a matter of days. Physicians searched desperately for answers, but medicine of the age offered few explanations. Some believed the air itself had become corrupted. Others blamed foul odors. Many saw the plague as a sign of divine judgment. Yet regardless of what people believed, the outcome remained unchanged. The death toll continued to rise, and the plague continued its advance. What made the disease especially terrifying was its speed. A person could appear healthy one day and be gone only days later. Panic spread through towns and cities. No one knew who might be next. Wealth offered no protection. Neither did power. Kings fell victim. Merchants fell victim. Farmers fell victim. Priests fell victim. Death seemed to move through society without distinction. Fear soon became a force of its own. In some places, neighbors avoided one another. Families became divided. Communities that had once stood together began to fracture. Witnesses described deserted streets, silent marketplaces, homes whose doors would never open again. Entire households vanished behind them. What made the catastrophe even more frightening was humanity's complete ignorance of its cause. Today, we know that the Black Death was largely spread through fleas carried by rats. But in the 14th century, no one knew of bacteria. The microscope had not yet been invented. Humanity was fighting an invisible enemy, and it had no idea how to defeat it. Desperate for answers, people turned to anything that offered hope. Herbs were burned inside homes. Flowers were carried through crowded streets. Perfumes and spices were believed to ward off disease. Among the most famous symbols of the era were the plague doctors, clad in dark robes and wearing masks with long beaks. They became enduring images of a world under siege. The hollow beaks were filled with fragrant plants and spices. Doctors believed the scents would protect them from the poisoned air surrounding them. But the plague could not be driven back so easily. It continued to spread, city after city, region after region. The Black Death did not stop at the borders of Europe. Its reach extended across vast parts of Asia as well. Communities separated by thousands of miles found themselves facing the same nightmare, the same fear, the same uncertainty, the same grief. Roads that had connected civilizations for centuries now carried destruction across continents. In many ways, the Black Death became one of history's first truly global disasters. It revealed how deeply connected the world had already become. Trade had brought prosperity, but it had also created pathways for catastrophe. As commerce expanded, so did the reach of the plague. As new routes opened, the disease followed. One of humanity's greatest achievements had become one of its greatest vulnerabilities. The consequences reached far beyond the loss of life. Fields were left abandoned. Harvests went untouched. Markets grew quiet. Trade slowed. Entire regions struggled to function. Yet the Black Death did more than destroy. It transformed. The loss of millions created severe labor shortages. Workers became more valuable. Old social structures began to weaken. Long-established systems started to change. Many historians see the Black Death not only as a pandemic, but as a turning point in human history. A catastrophe that reshaped societies long after the disease itself began to fade. Yet the people living through those years could not see the future. They saw only the suffering around them. And for many, there seemed to be no end in sight. Over time, cities and rulers began searching for new ways to contain the epidemic. One solution would leave a lasting mark on history: quarantine. Ships suspected of carrying disease were required to remain isolated before entering port. Crews waited for weeks before being allowed ashore. The idea was simple. If illness appeared, it would remain contained. Many of the public health measures used today can trace their origins back to these early attempts. Yet, even these efforts could only do so much. The true enemy remained unseen. Fear often spread faster than the plague itself. Rumors flourished. Accusations followed. Innocent people became targets. As has happened throughout history, Uncertainty drove many to search for someone to blame. The epidemic became more than a medical crisis. It became a crisis of society itself. Yet, amid the darkness, stories of courage emerged. Some physicians refused to abandon their patients. Some religious leaders remained beside the dying. Ordinary men and women chose compassion over self-preservation. Many paid for that choice with their lives. Their names have largely been forgotten. They built no empires, won no battles, claimed no crowns. Yet, for countless victims, they were a final source of comfort in a world consumed by fear. Eventually, the plague began to lose its grip. Cities slowly recovered. Trade resumed. Life returned. But the world that emerged was not the same world that had existed before. The Black Death had taken millions of lives. Yet it left behind more than graves. It altered economies. It reshaped societies. It transformed governments, and it forever changed humanity's understanding of disease. Even then, the story was not truly over. The plague never disappeared completely. The bacterium responsible survived in nature. Centuries later, new outbreaks would emerge in different parts of the world. Some would be severe, others would remain limited. But none would rival the devastation of the great pandemic of the 14th century. As the centuries passed, science advanced, human understanding grew. Microscopes revealed hidden worlds, bacteria were discovered, and at last, the mystery behind the Black Death was solved. Today, we know that the disease was caused by a bacterium known as Yersinia pestis. What was once surrounded by fear and uncertainty can now be understood through science. Yet that knowledge does not diminish its place in history, because the Black Death was more than a disease. It was a reminder of how fragile even the greatest civilizations can be. The strongest kingdoms could not stop it. The wealthiest cities could not escape it. The most powerful rulers could not command it. And perhaps that is why, 7 centuries later, the Black Death is still remembered. Because some battles are fought between armies, and some are fought against enemies that cannot be seen. One of history's greatest struggles was fought against such an enemy. This was the story of a catastrophe that changed the world. The story of the Black Death. Until the next video, welcome to Legends and Lore. D.